Good evening, students. Welcome back to Wisdom Academy E-Education. Students, today I will discuss about B.Sc first year's paper second, cell biology or cytology. Before studying, I give you some introduction about cell biology or cytology. Student, what is cytology or cell biology? That means cytology, which is the combination of two Greek words, cyton plus logos. That is cytology. Cyton means cell and logos means to study. That is combined called as the study of cell is known as cytology. What type of cell? Exactly the cell, study of biological cells is called cytology. Student, cytology, the study of cells. What type of cells? Cell means exactly, cell is a word that means surrounded area or enclosed area. The area which is enclosed. Suppose this is the area which is enclosed. This is a cell. Your room, classroom is a cell. Your bedroom, drawing room, all are a cell. Or in a train, each compartment or buggy also a cell. But I would like to study biological cell. This cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Structural and functional unit of life. That type of cell which I am going to discuss you. A cell which is the structural and functional unit of life. That cell I am going to discuss you. Student, cell is the basic, fundamental, structural, fundamental and functional unit of life. Life means life have, living things have life. What is life? Living things possess life. Living things possess life where all physiological processes take place. Physiological process take place. Living things possess life. What is life? No. Living things possess life where all physiological process take place. Today, so we conclude that cell is the smallest unit of basic and structural unit of life. So, according to the number of cells, living organisms are divided into two types. Living organisms are divided into unicellular. First one is unicellular living organism. Second one is multicellular living organism. Student, what do you mean by unicellular? Uni means one. The organism which contain one cell, or multicellular more than one cells, many cells body. Organisms are known as multicellular. What type of living organism belong to unicellular? You may call unicellular maybe prokaryotes or eukaryotes. Prokaryote belonging to bacteria. Eukaryote means euglena. Similarly, multicellular, the organism body consists of more than one cells. That organism are known as multicellular organism. So, all animals under multicellular, plants also multicellular, and also fungi. These are the multicellular organisms. Student, number of cells a living organism are classified into two. First one is unicellular, that means the organism which contain one cells. Second one is multicellular. That means multi means student many. Many cell contained organisms are known as multicellular. What are multicellular? Animals, plants, and fungi. What are unicellular? Bacteria, euglena, etc. All other microorganisms are under unicellular. So, next, what is the nature of cell? The nature of cell is dynamic. What do you mean by dynamic? That is not constant, not rested position. It is not static position, it is dynamic. That means, suppose here is a cell is forming newly formed cell. After they grow to a convert into growing cell, again this cell can be in the form of a divisible form. That cell divided into two further cells. So, cell is not a static condition. This may be vary. So, the nature of cell is dynamic, it is not static. That means cell always convertible form, which may, suppose here is the newly formed cell. This cell is converted to a grown cell, then form dividable. So, this cell again further dividable. That means this cell is not in static condition, this is in dynamic condition. Got my point, student? Next, history about cell. Student, you have studied in class 8 who discovered cell. Your answer come from Robert Hooke. So, in 1665, Robert Hooke take an experiment. 1665 में Robert Hooke take an experiment. In this experiment, he take a magnifying glass of power 30x. Of power 30x means 30 times multiple times power glass, and using and taking bark of a cork tree, thin bark of a cork tree. First, Robert Hooke, using experiment, own made or self-made microscope, simple microscope, which is power 30x times power, and taken the bark of a cork tree. Here is a cork tree, so the bark of a cork tree. This, under this observation, what he find? He observed. What are the observations by Robert Hooke? He observed dead cell wall of the above plant cell. He take the bark of a cork tree. So the dead cell wall is present in this cork tree. He observed dead cell wall of the above plant. So he discovered the cell wall. Who discovered cell wall? Robert Hooke discovered cell wall. Then he also find a liquid substance inside the cell. Student, history of cell. Who discovered cell? In 1665, Robert Hooke named the cell under the self-made magnifying glass of power 30x, taken the bark of a tree. Under his supervision, under his observation, you can say, he observed the dead cell wall of the plant cell. That is also a liquid substance inside it. and he observed this like structure, a honeybee like structure. This like structure he observed under a bark of a cork tree. So, this structure total this is a cell named. Each compartment is known as cell. The term coined by Robert Hooke is cell. The term cell was coined by Robert Hooke in 1665 under his experiment by taking the magnifying glass of power 30x and taking the bark of a tree. So, under his observance, he observed this like structure in his experiment. So, discoverer histology or cytology, cell discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665 is the first theme of Robert Hooke. Then I am going to another scientist, A.V. Leeuwenhoek. A.V. Leeuwenhoek, 1674. A.V. Leeuwenhoek taking the experiment, self-made microscope, magnifying power of glass, magnifying glass of power 300 times 300x power. So, what apparatus he required? The apparatus was pond water, where he observed in pond water living cells, living cellular organisms are present. That is microorganisms. Living microorganisms are present in pond water. So he regarded as discoverer of living cells. Who discovered living cells? A short question for an exam, NEET, etc. Other state boards also have pertaining these questions. Who discovered living cells? Student, who discovered living cells? Your answer will be simply, you can say A.V. Leeuwenhoek. A.V. Leeuwenhoek in 1674, in his experiment, he found some living organisms are found in the pond water. So he Leeuwenhoek is regarded as the discoverer of living cells. Who discovered dead cells? But dead cell was Robert Hooke. Living cells, A.V. Leeuwenhoek. Next, another scientist, 1830, Robert Brown, he experimented under this cell. A center is a substance is present, substance that is known as nucleus. Robert Brown, 1830, nucleus, discovered the nucleus. Another cell of component or cell part of a cell is nucleus. So, first in 1665, Robert Hooke discovered the cell and coined the term cell under his experiment by taking a thin bark of a tree. So also in 1665, Robert Hooke, in this matter or his observation is written in a book, Micrographia. In this book, he wrote about that matter under his experiment. In 1674, 1674, Evil Leeuwenhoek discovered the living cells under self-made microscope power of 300 times by taking pond water. He observed in the pond water there are several living cellular organisms are present. So, Leeuwenhoek is regarded as the discoverer of living cells. Then 1830, Robert Brown discovered the nucleus. He observed nucleus are present approximately center of the cell. Student, before ending introduction part, again repeat you. What is the introduction about cytology? The cytology is the word of two Greek words, cyton plus logos, that means cell study. The study of cell is known as cytology. Then, those cell, what is a cell? Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. What is life? The all living organism that who possess all physiological processes, they have also patent life. Who have life? Living organisms also have life. What are living organisms? According to number of cells. Number of cells, living organisms are classified two types, unicellular and multicellular. What are unicellular organisms? The organism which have only one cell, that is known as unicellular organism. What is multicellular? The organism which have many cells, that is more than one cell, is known as multicellular organism. So then, history of cytology or cell biology. Cytology, the study of cell, is known as cytology. Who discovered it first? In 1665, Robert Hooke discovered cell by taking self-made microscope and a bark of a cork tree. And he also written this matter in his book Micrographia. So, the term was coined by Robert Hooke. In this case, Robert Hooke is known as the discoverer of cell. Then 1674, Evil Leeuwenhoek began an experiment by taking self-made microscope which is 30x to 300x times power, taking some living cells by taking pond water. He observed that in the pond water there are several living cellular organisms are present. Then Robert Brown 1830, he observed his experiment. He observed a scanty substances are present inside the center of the new cell. So that name is nucleus. So Robert Brown is regarded as the discoverer of nucleus. Students, next class I will discuss about remaining part of the introduction.